I'm still on the elephant and flea thing, really, when it comes right down to it. The last video I mentioned, in the name of bondage and artificial limits, false imposed ceilings, I talked about really neurolinguistic programming. It was discovered by Bandler and Grinder back in the 70s or something like that. It's a very interesting process of giving cues or messages and somehow anchoring them in the body. And I gave the example of really forced change, where a guy didn't want to balance his checkbook, and he waves a gun at the guy. And I kind of went through that, and I thought, this is it sounds like and this is the problem. It's part of the problem. It's part of the problem with the elephant, part of the problem with the fleas, is that we can be programmed. Our biology, our body mind can be hacked to do things that we don't really want to do, that we actually find repugnant. Or we can actually be moved to do things that are, normally completely repugnant. So this is a problem. I don't want to introduce the idea that, forced change in order for me to accomplish something, or anybody to accomplish something, is a good idea, even if it's sort of a beneficial goal, like the weight loss thing. So I'd like to make a strong differentiation between two modalities, or two motivations, or two ways of achieving change. And without really thinking it out too much, I'm going to say one is relatively violent, and that's the body-mind hack. That would be trauma-based mind control, various whatever, the MK Ultra. Go look up the MK Ultra things. It's like MK Ultra was really to find the envelope of what it takes to manipulate human perceptions and behavior by any means. That's drugs, exposure to extremes, hallucinations, sleep deprivation at all ages, in all various contexts. They use it to make people talk. They do it to make people do things they don't want to do. They do it to create this thing they call whatever monarch, I forget what they are, but they fragmented personalities that, you can call up a personality at will, or under certain circumstances, a person will have a fragmented personality, and they can call up that personality to accomplish X, Y, Z. It's the Bourne, was it the Bourne, whatever it was, Jason Bourne. It's his thing, super soldier, where deep inside you have these resources that have been tapped. Your body mind has been hacked, so it's like resistance to pain, way faster than normal, reflexes, and the ability to do all kinds of things. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not a goal of any kind. That doesn't make us better. Watched a documentary on Hoover Dam. I ought to watch it. Watch how Hoover Dam got built. It's phenomenal to see the amount of violence that was done in the name of Lake Mead and creating this other thing, this, a kind of a paradise in the middle of the desert, in the Southwest there. And, but really, when it gets right down to it, it was an achievement-based goal. Lots of violence went into it. Now they're blasting vast tunnels, these amazing turbines, and you look at this stuff and you go, the human ingenuity, the human spirit. Look at what we can tap into. The question or the problem that I have with this is the direction we go. This is the direction we celebrate. The body-mind hack, the phenomenal, testing the envelope, the Tony Robbins Unleash the Beast, this kind of a motivational thing about busting free. it's wrong, right? I'm just talking off the top of my head. I mean, it's like, yeah, you can get some results. Somebody can jump higher, they can play better basketball, they can do better things, they can remember more stuff. But what does it do? You're really, in a sense, aiming to create freaks. BMX bicycles, that 3 flips with 2.5 turns while you're 40 feet in the air, and you better land on 2 wheels or you end up with every bone in your body broken, or your head, turned into a crushed melon. And they do these things. We look at it, we go, oh, this is awesome. Skateboards, BMX, NBA basketball, slam dunks from 20 feet out, whatever it is, we have an excitement. And now we've got an excitement about AI. Got this excitement, like, wow. Oh, do you think it's going to rebel? I mean, are we going to have iRobot on our hands? But there's this excitement. You see, we want that. We want to conjure up the robot rebellion. We have, like a Captain Kirk episode, where V'ger wants to destroy him, and he cleverly talks him out of it, and so, watch human ingenuity at work. That thing is, they want to make it so that whatever this AI is, it's more clever than humans. There's 2 ways to do that, is to make a really smart machine, and the other way is to make really, really dumb humans. You can work it from both directions, and they are, in fact, working AI from both directions by redefining intelligence. And I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and I told him, I said, this conversation makes me sad. The reason it makes me sad about AI is because I detect as a general zeitgeist, the beautiful possibilities of science. What can we do? The diseases will heal. The crippled children will give legs to. We've never done any of this. We've never used AI for any of this stuff. And to rag on evolution again, because AI and evolution are the same thing. Evolution was never used to really explain anything to us about who we are, our origins, or anything. Think about it. It's to typecast us into a certain kind of a thing. So anyway, as you can see, I've got several, hot buttons on this topic of AI because, okay, I'm a Luddite, okay? I'm a Luddite. I agree with those guys that said, long live King Lud, and tear down the power looms because they're replacing our lifestyles. And if the Luddites had won, which they didn't have a snowball's chance in hell, if the Luddites had won, Charles Dickens wouldn't have had any novels to write. He would have had to write about something else, because that dismal, snowy, crippled person, coal dust, slavery that he features in his novellas is a function. It's an outgrowth. It's a natural conclusion of the Industrial Revolution. So enough said there. So what I'm saying is we have a fascination with forced change at any cost to our children, at any cost to ourselves, at any cost to society. For some reason, the human species, the human creature, seems to have developed a blind spot. So you got 2 ways of changing, okay? We've got the forced change thing, but the other way is relationship. We talked about this with Christianity in general, with the guru, with the gods, with meditation, with yoga. Yoga means relationship. Prayer is relationship. This is about relating. That's the other way you get change. Let's forget forced change. I'm telling you, it's our undoing. It's our downfall. It's a dead end for humans. It's not going to go anywhere. It can be charming, and it can be good dystopian material to kind of like wring our hands over, but it's not a great idea. So let's look at, we want to develop a crisis, okay? Now the thing is, I was talking to my wife about this, develop a crisis in terms of neuro-linguistic programming. That's what the guy did with the gun in the last one, where Bandler is using the gun. He's creating crisis. Crisis destabilizes the person, and then when the person is destabilized, like soil in the middle of a volcanic movement, it shifts and changes and all kinds of bizarre things. In other words, in an earthquake, the ground in the earth. There's two kinds of earthquakes: the kind that go like this and the kind that go like this. Well, the kind that go like this, up and down, those kind of earthquakes like this. I don't know what's going on geologically, but when that happens, literally the ground turns to liquid. It's a very, very interesting effect when sand or the ground, things that you thought were solid, can go to liquid. The Narrows Bridge thing with when you have pulsations that come through anything that's physical, that includes the body mind. Okay, pulsations, pulsed impacts, boom, 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 boom. It destabilizes the body mind. It destabilizes it and allows other kinds of things to happen that can't happen when the body mind is solid and when the body mind is grounded. And in the case of earthquakes, the ground opens up and swallows people, and they sink down in what used to be solid. And what does it do to your body mind when you're in that situation of the soil? Your ground, Earth Mother, when it turns to liquid and swallows you, it's like, that's more than just a physical problem. It does a number on your head. It's like gravity changing. It's like something that we depend on, gravity. We depend on this. It helps us function. In any case, what I'm saying is, or I'm trying to make a difference here. You've got the force change where you hack the body mind. The other is change. It also has to do with crisis in many ways, but it's through relationship. Through relationship, we can become more human. That's the human way. Animals and whatnot, all of that is built in. Birds line up on a wire, 13 and a half inches on center down the wire. It's built into them. Humans have conditioned these social distances. An intimate distance, let's say an intimate distance for a Russian is, I don't know, I think it's something like, like 8 inches, 12 inches. I don't know, I'm not really sure, but the concept is there. And for an American, the intimate distance is like 2 feet. So that if an American is in a conversation with a Russian, it's this funny dance where the Russian is basically walking the American all over the room, and the American is trying to escape from the Russian. The Russian is trying to get close enough to make a point. The American is trying to stay out of intimate distancing. So this kinds of things happen across cultures. Well, what I'm saying is these can be learned, unlearned. They can be easily unlearned. Like when let's say you go to the Middle East, you have to get over, let's say, I'm just talking because I haven't been there. But in some cultures, you're going to have to get over the idea of body odor. Because in these cultures, they rely on smell. They've learned things in that smell that help them to know what you're about and what we're about. And they don't necessarily trust you until they smell you, let's say. Animals are this way, right? The dog comes up, sniffs your hand. So, but that's relational. And we can work with that. We're not stuck with that. And that's not really a body-mind hack. That's learning the other, opening myself to the other, overcoming some things, overcoming crisis, the crisis of being too damn close to somebody. And then I'm going, I'm too close to this whatever guy from this other culture, or this woman. And I want to create distance. You breathe. You work with it, you even talk about it with them, whatever it is you do, but we do it through relationship. And relationship is our way, the human way, of entering into natural law, of being in consort with natural law, understanding what the natural laws are that I'm about. So it's not necessarily about hacking. And I'm going to go back to Hoover Dam, because in that case, What are we going to do? We're going to do a dam. It's got these physical properties of holding back some gazillion, and then you've got the Three Rivers Dam in, I think that's what it's called, in China, which makes the Hoover Dam look like something in your, in your gutter in your front yard that your kid built. I mean, it's huge, huge. So, yeah, we can make turbines. Yeah, we can work with steel that's 2 inches thick. Yeah, we can do stuff. We can do stuff. And that's what our fascination has been throughout these last 2,000 years, or whatever. And it seems like we're always offered the possibility of relating to our environment, relating to each other, and relating to myself. Get to know, I said that in the last one, this spiritual friend. Get to know the spiritual friend. Look in the mirror and say, I apologize. I don't know you. I've never taken the time. You've gotten me through so many different things. You've done so many things, and I don't know even who are you? What do you want? Yeah, sure, you feel crazy because you're talking to yourself. I'll guarantee you, you're not talking to yourself. You're talking to someone you've never, ever talked to, and you have to get past the social construct of too much intimacy, looking at myself, talking to myself. You have to get over it and try to reach out and find this person that has been buried underneath so many social agendas, so many fascinations with achievement and goals, instead of finding relationship. When I'm in relationship, it leads me to an understanding of a kind of a human communion. There's a sort of a magic that happens when people are in, and listen, I don't like working in groups, however, I will say that in certain group settings, they're very magical. The proverbial service project, those can be fantastic moments where you never knew you could feel so good. You never knew they could be that pleasant to work on an altruistic project with other people. And yet, I definitely don't make space in my life for that. Now, so you understand the communion of people in consort, overcoming their petty boundaries and borders and ceilings and ropes, and that they actually can come together in some sort of a thing in a spirit of humility. It has to be a spirit of humility because, like a watercolor painting, it's just a series of failed efforts, but the outcome of it and the way that it looks in the end is beautiful. But it's based on a bunch of failings and a bunch of forgiveness and a bunch of compassion for people's limits, and also some firmness. There has to be firmness. We're going to have to push into this. We're going to have to accomplish it. It's not going to be easy, especially if people have learned these arbitrary limits I talked about with the elephant and the flea thing. If people are stuck and programmed with these arbitrary limits, how do you get past them? Well, it might bring some tears. It brings crisis because you want those limits in place, that you've grown to crave the limits. In my case, a certain amount of autonomy. I would probably have to get over a certain amount of autonomy, the feeling of like I can be in control of so much of my life. You come to a point where everybody's stuck in the elevator and he's like, no, you're not going to get your social distance. No, you're not going to get your private time. And having a temper tantrum on the elevator is really, really not very productive. There's these kinds of things. You're stuck. It's crisis. And you're together with people. Now, on the other hand, there's a way of dealing, of creating artificial crises, and then hacking the person's edges. Like I said, it's the MK Ultra program type thing where you're able to tap certain hormonal abilities, certain biochemical reactions, and certain subliminal abilities that your conscious self is unaware of. And these are significant. It involves, I'm just like they always talk about the DNA that's 98% junk, and then 2% is doing all the work. I don't think so. There's psychic abilities, there's interconnectedness across space. I would say there's even interconnectedness across time. So I'd say there's a possibility of healing the past in the present. In other words, these kinds of things that are physically impossible, but a human can open themselves to it in the way that I can open myself to a Jesus or Mary. I can open myself to healing the past in the present through certain actions. This is not a biochemical hack. This is not MK Ultra. This is religion. It's tapping into this beautiful field of intelligence that we're all swimming in. And when we tap into this, the nature of true relationship, whatever that is, always failing and always recognizing that true relationship, that's our horizon. Not some achievement out there, but this true relationship. And as long as we can keep that in our mind, this fluid medium of pure intelligence actually can animate, activate, and interconnect people in many ways. I promise, I having never been there, how can I say this with a straight face? But I will. If we ever get to the point where this society is not governed by biochemical hacks, arbitrary limits, bondage, and psycho-hallucinogenic tricks to get people to do X, Y, and Z, if we ever get rid of that, we've got something that could feel like heaven on earth. Immediately, no matter what the problems are, no matter what the difficulties are that we've got going on, and they are significant and they are artificial. All of them are the tin can lid and the rope on the elephant. Every single one of them are coercion and bribery and corruption of various kinds. The problems we have, problem isn't Darwinian in nature. It's not because we're backsliding to the slime of which we came from and that we need AI to drag us out of the slime. That's BS. That's absolute BS. So I just wanted to get that point out there because this whole idea of romanticizing, let's say, neuro-linguistic programming or any kind of self-help programming, hacking the self, in the absence of relationship, is not a good idea. So there's my clarion call. Thank you very much, and I hope you like it.